Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Play the final trial of the Great Ace Attorney. The first one. Okay, so Ace Attorney is one of my personal favorite series. Oh wow, it actually... okay. Although there are two games in the series I've never really played, and it's both of the prequel games. This side duology that takes place in the 19th century. And I've been playing it a bunch with some friends watching in my Discord, and I kind of had this thought to let's play the final trial. Because the final trial of these games tend to be very dramatic, very all over the place in a very fun sort of way. And I don't know, I just thought that'd be really fun. I am not going to let's play the whole game. If you are curious about my thoughts on the trials up to this point, I'll leave a little link to a little story in the description where you can read my thoughts on all of them so far. Let's just jump into this. I'm not gonna explain everything unless it feels relevant to do so. Hound of Baskervilles. I'm gonna assume you know the story of this game and are probably just watching for my reactions to stuff.
It's coming! Sholmes's cry pierced through the thick wall of fog around us.
I shouldn't increase the volume for this.
Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited, breathlessly, in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared. From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. "Look well, Wilson," Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast. "For this is the diabolical hound of the Baskervilles."
Alright, also, these are visual novels, so 90% of this will be me talking. Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. In that disconcerting courtroom experience, we were first thrown in on the day we arrived in the country. And in Sosaki-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court, which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, an unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. As usual, they will never tell you the year. Knock knock. That morning, I was woken up by the unreserved knocking on the door by the telegram boy. But after he'd gone, Susato-san's behavior became very obviously strange. Susato-san? Yes! It is time to leave for court. Is it time to leave for court already? Let me see. What case is it today? I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh, no, of course not. How silly of me. But I think Iris said she would make us breakfast this morning. So shall we go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite? I still can't get over that that's his name. Yes! Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? And once our bellies are full, I love that pose, we can leave for court in fighting fit form. Okay, so, like, I love the stories of these games, and I love, like, the writing in the stuff. One thing I've always found very, almost kind of inspirational about Ace Attorney is how it does, like, character posing. Because I've always been a big fan of how, like, you can portray a lot in a game with very little. especially as someone who's into indie game development, you know, and I've always found it just impressive how engaging these games are when characters at most have like a dozen poses they can strike, you know. It's even kind of heavily inspired how I design like the character and like body language of my own characters for my own series. Like the shopkeeper moments from the game I'm currently working on aren't too different from how Ace Attorney characters look on the witness stand, you know? They only have 3 poses each, but they're very emotive and they have a lot of personality, and that got that a lot from this series. Let me see, what case is it today? Here we go again. And I'm also kind of shocked just how well the style works in 3D, too. I actually prefer the 3D games of Ace Attorney to the 2D ones. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I just love how these games look. So what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean. Oh, a telegram? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, but you're not going to get away with that. Oh. Well, I didn't think I would. Actually, don't give it a moment's thought. It's nothing. Nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. Ahem. It was just a boring old telegram. That's 3 times now that she's tried and failed to convince me that it was nothing. I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point. My immediate thought is that it's something related to her dad, because we don't know much about... She's a very nice character, and she's been very helpful, but we don't really know much about her, like her past or her family, just yet. Alright, I understand. Soseki-san. I suppose Soseki-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he? That's the defendant of the last case? Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal. And I was very concerned for him because of Barack's, like, he's gonna kill every defendant after their trial deal. Which would mean he should have completed the voyage already, or be just a few days away. A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him, do you remember? Complaining of seasickness. But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well. You know, something kind of fun about that character is that he's actually based off of a real author that existed around that time. Kind of recently, I found a book at a library that was like a manga based off one of his novels. It was like a manga adaptation of one of his novels, I Am a Cat, and I actually picked it up and I'm reading it now. But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well. Is something wrong, Naruto-san? I was just wondering, what might have become of Soseki-san had he stayed in London, that's all. You mean, as regards Lord Van Zykes, the Reaper. Yes, I can't help but wonder if seasickness would have paled in insignificance in that case. The Reaper. What is it they say? That no one who stands in the dock can be saved from the Reaper, right? God, this has been that was my favorite trial in this game so far. It's like... I've never, like, played one of these games and it had you, like, second-guessing your own memory. That really screwed with me, that second half of that trial. Like, the way the nightmarish trial ended on the very day we arrived in London. Even 2 months on, the cause of the dreadful fire is still a mystery? Yes, but at least Soseki-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably that means that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps. Even if that's the case, it's little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding. If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean that he wields the sword of justice himself. Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants. No, I don't think so. Apparently Lord Van Zykes hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter. Oh? Yes, since Soseki-san's trial, he's withdrawn from judicial service again, it seems. But he showed up for 2 cases and what is this guy's deal? You know, one kind of issue I have had with this game so far is, I feel like it has a lot of pacing issues. Like, you don't get introduced to the main prosecutor until the 3rd trial, which is really late for this series. I feel like I don't know much about Van Zykes quite yet either. And that second case is all to blame. Like, I'm gonna implore you again to go read my thoughts on the game up to this point if you want to, but I will say, like, the second trial of this game might be my least favorite case in the entire series. That drained me. 4-hour investigation over 3 rooms. Like, I knew I wasn't having fun with that when I found myself looking up how much longer I had to go. I've never done that with one of these games before. Like, Jesus Christ, what a draining trial. Just like before, when he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So it's just been me who's had to face him in a recent spate of trials then. Just my luck. I wonder if luck doesn't come into it. Sorry? What was that? Oh, nothing. Never mind. Okay. This is a really nice room. Naroda's legal consultancy. There's a lot of fancy words in this game that I'm too dumb to get. Alright, let's go to Herlock Sholmes' home, which is right below our attic. God, there's a lot of details in this map. I kind of wonder if all of them, like all this stuff on the fireplace and up here, are references to his books. I still find it hilarious how they had to localize this. It's like, Sherlock Holmes' copyright is notoriously complicated all around the world, so they just called him Herlock Sholmes instead. Morning, Runo. Morning, Susie. Also, I'm still expecting a gag with her, where, like, she's a very young kid, and I'm just expecting at one point Holmes to go, like, elementary, my dear Iris. You should get to school, or something. Good morning, Iris. What the hell is this music? Iris? What is it, Runo? What is it? What is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled. Ah, yes. You noticed that, did you? Oh, I didn't recognize him about the coat. Yeah, that's Herlock. Herlock is in the best form this morning, it seems. Oh no, he's sad! Hello. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Good morning. A good morning to die, perhaps. Has something happened, Mr. Sholmes? You look miserable, and the way you were playing the violin before. My analytical mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. Sometimes you just have off days. Damn this planchet existence. That's all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence. I'm afraid I don't understand. Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast, and insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much to add trouble. Meow. Huh? Kitty! Oh, look, it's Wagahai. Good morning, boy. Kitty! That must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. But how did it get there? Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris. Ugh. It would indeed be a fine day to die. Sholmes, you're killing the mood. Ugh, I knew something looked different. Hey, who's the cat, though? Is that cat that ran off in Susato's, like, lodgings? I don't... That cat appeared for, like, one shot. I don't really remember it that much. Something's missing. Something's missing from Mr. Sholmes' desk. I don't want to talk about that! You seem to be very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What's happened? It used to be the case that in my hands, this violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its melanescent tones would make flowers bloom. Also, here's another example of, like, a really good pose that, like, does very much with very little. He's not even moving here. You don't have to animate his mouth, but, like, it just says so much about him and his state right now. It would? Like, characters are very exaggerated in Ace Attorney, and it is very goofy as a result of that. But, like, it just makes the character so much more lively and, like, fun to follow and learn about. But now, the muses are unamused with me. The goddess of music has thrown me over. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? For hours I have bowed, for days even. Through the night I have endeavored, to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone... Gone forever! No more reticles of unbridled emotion! Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley? Don't worry. I'm sure it will come back to you in time. Heed my words, Mr. Naruto. The goddesses of the arts are fickle. One day they bestow genius on a man. The next, they unmercifully withdraw it. Oh, dear. Ugh! Why is this happening to me? If they take the turn I have for the violin from me, what is left for pity's sake? Deduction, perhaps? Isn't it what you're known for? Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but... Your desk looks rather empty today. Ah, well done, Mr. Sato. Your observational skills do you credit. Oh, no, Mr. Sholmes, they pale in insignificance when compared to yours. You'd struggle not to notice, wouldn't you? You mean Hurley's great analyticoscope. That's at Windibank's now. Sorry? It's at Windy Bank? No, Windibank's. The pawnbrokery. Oh my god, that pose she just did. Herlock does that too. See, again, doing so much with so little, not only is that a similar animation, they might have just copy-pasted then adjusted a little bit, but it kind of like shows a bit of a connection between these two. Pawn... what? You mean you've pawned that enormous machine of yours? It has some considerable value, you see. Quite deservingly. But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I do wish you had consulted, us if your situation had become so desperate. I should have gladly passed what little income I have to you. Dear Madame, things are far from desperate. But the pawnbroker has your wonderful machine. How can it be anything but desperate? Making use of a pawnbrokery is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you. It is? It doesn't sound ordinary at all. It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbroking works. Oh? What's to understand exactly? What did you mean when you said we didn't fully understand how pawnbroking works? To the people of London, pawnbrokeries are akin to banks. Banks? On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to the pawnbroker of choice. With the money they receive in return, they are able to trade happily through the week. And then on Saturdays, they go to recover their things using the money they've earned. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us. Everyone does it, you see, especially people in inner London. And should they have money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn. should the need arise. I think this is called having assets. Oh, how ingenious. So whenever we have something that's getting in the way, we leave it at Windibanks, you see. What if someone else buys it? A pawnbroker can be thought of as an extremely secure vault. Who would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different here in Great Britain? Of course, you have to watch Hurley with it. Sometimes he pawns things he really shouldn't. Don't you, Hurley? What does it matter? The world is dead to me now. Well, that didn't help. Is that all I can talk of him about? What do I have? Give him this. Oh, no, 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 no. Mr. Sholmes, could I ask for your opinion about this? You lure me to raise my languid head with a promise of some mental exhalation. Yet in my morbid depression, I am confronted with the most mundane of problems. Oh. My mind finds greater stimulation in the unforgiving monotony of the floor than in your miserable offering. Always glad to help. Oh, my head weighs heavy on my shoulders. Hi! Yeah, tell me about the cat. Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled in. Ah, it is Soseki's cat! Oh my goodness! Oh yes, and I've become very attached to little Waggy. It would appear his previous owner is completely forgotten to him. Cats are unfeeling creatures. Their mews are empty at the hearts of the muses. Also, you can't bring a cat on a boat? They established that in Chapter 2. Or in Case 2. Man, even the game doesn't want to remember Case 2. Kitty! Oh no, I don't like it when stuff's obscured by the text box, though. That happens a lot in these games, actually. If Mr. Natsume had no intentions of taking Waggy back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place. I expect he would have taken him if he could. But pets are strictly forbidden aboard the okay, they remembered, yeah. And for good reason. Terrible things can happen if the rules of passage are not obeyed. Especially with the role a cat played in Case 2. Well, I don't mind, because Waggy is adorable. Yes, he really is. Oh yeah, so what about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing in the main door before. Where did that come from? Oh, you noticed? You are observant, Runo. Look, I used this. It's my latest invention. Is it just a gun that makes a cat door? Oh my god, this song is insane. What is that? I call it the Cat Flap-O-Mat. Gosh, a machine for making doors just for cats? That's right, it can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. And it can do it in any door at all, no matter what it's made of. It's very powerful, you see. Wouldn't it have been quicker just to make the cat flap rather than making a machine to make the cat flap? Well, yes, maybe. But now I can make cat flaps anywhere I like. Oh, I think it's wonderful. You must make one for us in the door to our office upstairs, Iris. She really knows how to come up with unconventional inventions, this girl. Haha. Yow! Oh, what was that? Did another person die by tripping on a cat? Waka hi. What was that? Oh no! Wagahai's tangled up in your violin. I think he thinks it's a toy. No! What's he doing to it? Oh dear, Mr. Sholmes' precious violin. Why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised. if the cat is a more accomplished musician than I. No. Mr. Sholmes really is in poor spirits, isn't he? Well, anyway, I'll put it back where it lives. Shall I, Hurley? Out of the cat's reach if possible. Maybe we should assess the damage. Examine. Over here. Doesn't look too damaged. Oh, one of the strings broke. So this is the violin, is it? It's a Stradivarius, one of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier Antonio Stradivari. Oh, I see. It doesn't really look like anything special to me. I happened upon it covered in dust, languishing in a pawn shop down a nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings. How honorable of you. And until today, it has been my faithful companion to every great Paganini-inspired performance I have made. I ask you, is there reason to live in a world devoid of music, to tolerate this blanched existence? No! There is none. Mr. Sholmes? What, dear madame, what? My thoughts are preoccupied with fancies of release from this dull routine. Well, it's about the violin. It looks very different to normal, don't you think? Hmm? What do you mean, Miss Susato? Oh, Susato's right. Oh, Susie's right. Yes, the tone of the wood is completely different. And that's not all, I'm sure there was no crack here before. Wait, it's not even the right size, is it? What's this? I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all. Then what? I believe it's an entirely different instrument called a viola. What? 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 I got a friend who took that animation and drew over it with his own OC. It's insane. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, are you alright? You're right. You are quite right. This isn't my faithful Stradivarius. So what, pray, is this piece of stringed flotsam? Not your faithful performing partner, then. Ah, I see what must have happened. You do, Iris? This is just a simple mix-up. It sounds like Iris might be able to tell us exactly what happened if we ask her. What did you mean by a mix-up, Iris? Well, you see, this viola, I mean, was at Windibank's until last week. So he traded in his violin too, and forgot what it looked like. At the pawnbroker's? Now Mr. Sholmes' beloved musical partner. There's a proverb from the East, with which you are no doubt familiar, my dear fellows. Always let a beloved child travel. Yes, indeed. So you sent your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers in the hopes that it would experience personal growth. Oh, what a wonderful idea! Last week, I pawned my great analytoscope in order to release my precious instrument. But it would appear Mr. Windibank mistakenly furnished me with this tawdry fiddle instead. But my ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. No, but your ever sense was deceived by the fact that it just had strings. Pshaw, a fine statement of affairs this is. And why I always say, Mr. Naruto, never trust a pawnbroker. They will try to fill you every time. You just told us they're great! But earlier you told us that you could think of a pawnbroker as an extremely secure vault. Oh my god. Come, Mr. Naruto. Dilly-dallying will get you nowhere. Sorry? Crunching your toast with that vacant aspect, pressing your coffee so... Wait, this is the same. He's done this animation before, but it was pointed towards us. Again, efficient use, like, saying a lot with very little. They've reused an animation, but it's like using a completely different context here, and it just works. Like, I don't know how they do this. Are you not a little embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency with which we are faced? We must visit Mr. Windibank's brokery at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Sholmes? Precisely, Miss Susato, without a moment's delay. But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. My dear fellow, surely you do not still intend to crunch your bacon with an increasingly vacant aspect, to press your egg even more so obtrusely. Alright, say no more. Let's go then. Don't worry, Bruno. I'd be happy to heat up for you again later. Oh, thank you, Iris. As it happens, I am rather curious to see what a British pawnbroker's looks like. Okay, I guess we have our first destination then. I think that'll be a good intro to this, though. That's a good stopping point. Alright, I will see you folks later. Thanks for watching.